Financial Grown-Up Guide, the top new money books for grown-ups right now, June 2019 edition. You're listening to Financial Grown-Up with me, certified financial planner Bobbi Rebell, author of How to Be a Financial Grown-Up. And you know what? Being a grown-up is really hard, especially when it comes to money. But it's okay. We're going to get there together. We got this. Welcome, my friends, to a new installment of our monthly feature here on the Financial Grown-Up Podcast. Quick reviews of the money books we are loving right now and you might want to check out. Now, these are recommendations, so I'm going to focus on why I was drawn to them and what I got out of these books. And full disclosure, we do focus on books written by authors that appear on the podcast because if we're being honest, when I love a book, I want to know more and I want to share that with you guys. So we do tend to reach out and try to get the authors on. We will include links to the author episodes in the show notes, which will be at bobbirebell.com/financial grown-up podcast. Let's start with Take the Leap, Change Your Career, Change Your Life by Sara Bliss. The book focuses on stories of people who left a career they were pretty settled in, and in many cases, pretty successful at, and, well, they took the leap into something very, very different. Taking the term career pivots to the extreme, more like career pirouettes. And I love that the stories are told in a very short format. You can dip in and just read one in about 5 minutes, and then come back to the book and be drawn into another at another time. Individual light stories combined to make an in-depth resource. Here are 3 things I liked most about Sara Bliss's Take the Leap. Number 1, her mantra, begin anyhow, because there is always going to be a reason not to start to move towards a new career. So begin anyhow. Number 2, while the book is, as you would expect, cheerful, upbeat, and inspiring, it is also extremely specific and detailed about the hard work and sacrifice often involved. Want to go from Wall Street to winemaking? Well, you may not need to, but the person profiled here went way downscale for a full year to learn his craft before he actually started the career change. No magic pills here. And number 3, Sara Bliss is totally transparent about the money focus. 70% of those profiled make more in their new and happier careers. So this isn't just about working for the love of the work. It is very much about finding ways to get paid more by disrupting your ideas about how to sell the skills that you already have. Who should read this book? Well, I am tempted to say people who want to pivot their careers, but the truth is that's really not enough. To get the most out of Take the Leap, you have to be dreaming of something better, self-aware enough to understand the work involved, and motivated enough to make it a priority and get it done. If that's not true, though, I will say it's a really fun book and you could just read it for the fun of it. Book number 2, The Remix, How to Lead and Succeed in the Multi-Generational Workplace by my friend, multi-generational expert, Lindsey Pollak. Did you know that there are now 5 generations in the workforce? The book's title refers to the idea that at parties, when a DJ wants to get everyone excited to go dance, he plays a remix because the younger guests know the new song, but it is also familiar to the older guests. And the next thing you know, the dance floor is packed. Here are 3 things I loved about the remix. Number 1, Lindsey gives very easy to do things that can bring us all together. Like if coworkers feel displaced because of not having a permanent desk or office anywhere, she presents specific solutions, such as personalizing the things that we bring with us everywhere, like our computers. And Lindsey reframes the way that we think about popular workplace concepts. Instead of work-life balance, it is work-life integration. Number 2, she recommends apps that also make it easier to implement her strategies, so taking it up a notch. For example, feedback apps to keep a continuous conversation going because some generations want feedback a lot more than one annual review. Number 3, the original research that Lindsey has done is what really sets this book apart. While she absolutely does interview the top thought leaders in the industry and presents a ton of third-party data, the remix is full of information that we have not read elsewhere because it is Lindsey Pollak's original content, from misperceptions about remote work to the reality of whether ping pong tables and free lunch really do work to retain employees in a tight job market. You're all wondering, right? This book is for people who want a big picture look at the changes in the workplace in the last decade or so, along with specific solutions that they can implement in their own day-to-day work environment to just enjoy the time more and learn from other generations. Book number 3 is by Laura Gassner Otting, and it is called Limitless: How to Ignore Everybody, Carve Your Own Path, and Live Your Best Life. This book, okay, it's a bit woo-woo, it's a bit self-helpy, but in a good and in a very literal way. Trust me. It focuses on 4 functional elements to help us break through the external and internal limits that hold us back. Here are 3 things that really resonated with me in Laura Gassner Otting's book, Limitless. Number 1, it doesn't so much tell you what you need to change in your life to be happy. Rather, Limitless focuses more on how you can figure it out for yourself. Because we're all different and there isn't one size fits all. Limitless gives you the framework. It's up to each of us to determine our own personal version of success and happiness. Number 2, as much as there is a definite cheerleader tone to this book, it's also balanced by tough love. For example, being busy is not the same as getting results. So we need to have some honesty there. And full disclosure, that is something I personally do struggle with. I'm incredibly busy. I don't always get results. Something to think about. Number 3, Laura is candid about her own challenges as a mompreneur. The author started her company with a 6-week-old child. Why? Well, it wasn't necessarily planned that way. I mean, who would do that, right? But the truth is, that is when an opportunity for a first client fell into her lap. So she had to take the time when it was right, which was when the client was there. Sometimes that's just the way it is. It presents itself and you need to be ready even if you weren't ready. And I think that's a great point. The best opportunities don't always come when we want to schedule them, but we can become ready very fast when they do come. Often that is when we have the least amount of time. So she's in it with us. Who is this book for? Well, it's for people who need someone to motivate them to achieve their potential. It's like those of us who know we should eat healthy, but need someone to write out a menu and then maybe check in with us and see how we're doing. Or maybe we need to work with a trainer to really get ourselves to work out. The fact that we could work out is great, but we kind of need someone to walk us through the steps. Laura knows how to say things in a way that gets rid of the excuses and helps the reader get things done. And speaking of being time crunched, I want to share with you a new reading tool that I am really into these days because, as you can tell, I do love to read, but I am literally never caught up. And after I read the books for the show and maybe something for my book club, it's just not happening. And that has been making me really sad. But I now have a solution. It is an app called Blinkist. That is Blinkist, I-S-T. Blinkist is an app that takes the books we are dying to read and breaks them down into little 1-minute-ish summaries called blinks that we can read or listen to on pretty much any device. Entire books in about 15 minutes-ish, kind of like this podcast, emphasis on the ish. Check it out at bobbirebell.com/Blinkist. We will have a link in the show notes on my website at bobbirebell.com/Financial Grownup Podcast as well. If you like it, please DM me on Instagram at BobbiRebel1 or on Twitter at BobbiRebel and tell me what you are reading on Blinkist so I can share it with the Financial Grownup community. Okay, let's go to book number 4. That is The Wealth Creator's Playbook, a guide to maximizing your return on life and money by John Christianson. And I want to emphasize that life in the title comes before money. This is not a beginner investment book, and it speaks to a very specific demographic, if we are being honest here, people who have money and who consider themselves wealth creators. So just go in knowing that this book comes from a very specific point of view and is largely for a very specific audience. But here's what stood out to me in The Wealth Creator's Playbook. Number 1, the author is not afraid to be honest about who his audience is and therefore comes across as uniquely authentic. He is not talking down. He is talking with a very specific segment of the population who don't simply want to settle for being wealthy, but are looking for a more fulfilling life regardless of their bank account. Number 2, it's kind of a now what for people who have acquired a certain degree of financial success and stability. And it really calls on them to evaluate why they spend such a high percentage of their time and effort focusing on the accumulation of wealth and how their identity changes once they have it. Number 3, while it is, as they say, very much a first world problem, the Wealth Creator's Playbook does address the challenges that come with wealth, including isolation, relationship challenges, spiritual aspects, and so much more of the complications that do come with dealing with, frankly, large sums of money. Who is this book for? Well, look, this book is clearly aimed at those who have accumulated money but are looking for guidance and support in dealing with the changes that wealth accumulation has brought on, including assessing their values and how to deal with their kids and money. And of course, in many cases, and this is nice to hear, the best way to be generous with their wealth. Let me know how you like this episode and any suggestions that you have. We will put links to the books mentioned here as well as author episodes in the show notes. You can find them all by going to bobbirebell.com/podcast/June 2019 books. And if you aren't up for entire books, don't forget to check out Blinkist to get 15-minute text or audio versions of more than 20,000 nonfiction books. Go to bobbirebell.com/Blinkist for a free trial. Thank you to all of our great authors for helping us all get one step closer to being financial grownups. Financial Grownup with Bobbi Rebell is edited and produced by Steve Stewart and is a BRK Media production.